This podcast is supported by Banca Transilvania. Hello everyone, dear friends. Welcome back to SportED Talks. SportED Talks is the place where we look at sports, we take it apart, we see what's up with each part and trying to put it back. Hopefully it stays the same. I have the opportunity to talk to extraordinary people, and today is no exception of that. I'm glad and I'm honored to have with me Dorian Yates. He's six-time Mr. Olympian, professional bodybuilder, entrepreneur, is a business person. He translated that experience from sport to different parts of the business and the life. And I'm very excited to have him here and to start a discussion with him. So, welcome, Dorian.
Thanks, Virgil. Thanks for having me on, man.
Thank you very much for accepting my invitation. First of all, why are you in Romania?
I'm in Romania because my company, DY Nutrition, we have offices here and a team here for Europe. So I've been here coming back and forth for the last 4 years.
Okay.
And we just actually had the DY Games, which is to promote sports and health and fitness in Romania, because apparently the gym attendance in Romania is a little bit behind the rest of Europe. So we're just trying to promote it here and have some fun. So we had the games on Saturday. People from all over Romania coming to compete in the games and having fun. So that's it. I'm trying to promote bodybuilding, but just sports and health and fitness in general.
So for our audience to know, you are one of the greats of professional bodybuilder, and you're right there with Ronnie Coleman, Arnold, Lee Haney, Phil, but for some people you changed this. You changed the game, and you're one of the most admired figures of bodybuilding because you brought different vision of the game. But let's start with the beginning.
Yeah.
Let's start. Why bodybuilding? How did you get into that?
I got into bodybuilding. First time I lifted weights, I was actually first I was doing karate.
Okay.
Because I was huge fan of Bruce Lee, as many people were back in the mid '70s. I had Bruce Lee on the wall and all that stuff, and I wanted to be like Bruce Lee and jump over buildings and all this stuff that we saw in the movies. So I went to do karate. And when I was doing karate, they had a small place with the weights in there. And I started lifting weights, and it's hard to describe. It's just like, this was me. This was my destiny. I love the weights, and I was suited to it. You know, like yourself, you played basketball because you liked it, but because you have some innate ability there. So I responded very well to the weights, and I loved pushing my body. I loved the fact that it was based on discipline. And most of all, I think, because it's very individual, it's all about you. Like on a team, maybe there can be a player that's not so good and he lets you down or something like this. But on bodybuilding, it's all you. It's your body. It's up to you what you eat. You're the one that's got to do the training. And now it's a little bit different because now people do have coaches and they do have nutritionists and so on. But we didn't have any of that. So I was forced to, also we didn't have the internet. So I had to get magazines, I had to get books, I had to read on nutrition, I had to do all this stuff myself. So I had to do all the research myself, I had to do all the training. So I felt like when I got to the competition, win or lose, it's down to me. And up to that point, I think in my life, I felt that other people let me down, maybe. So I wanted to be in control of everything. So all around it just physically and mentally, it was well suited to me. I was almost made to be a bodybuilder.
I read that you came from a different background. And when you started, you came from some unfortunate events.
Yeah.
So that took you out of there.
Maybe unfortunate, maybe not unfortunate.
Well, yeah.
Maybe fortunate.
Maybe
Who knows?
fortunate to take you out of there.
Ultimately, it led me down this path. I left home when I was 16. So I was like living at a friend's place, or, I had no real stability, and I was in a gang, just Nothing serious like you get now, but in a gang with some friends, and we get into fights with other gangs, stuff like that, you know. And I ended up spending a few months in a detention center. And in there, the 300 people, I was the one with the best physique. I was the one who could lift the most weights. And because of this, I was treated differently by everybody, by the guys in there, but not only that, by the authorities, the officers, and they treated me a bit different with a bit more respect. And actually, a couple of guys in there said, listen, Yates, we can see you don't belong in here. You know, you're different from these guys. You don't belong in here. And you got something here that you can do something with. So that was kind of a turning point. And even when I left the detention center, I was not really in a position to pursue this. I had to get a job, I had to get an apartment, I had to get stability in my life. So it took a bit of time, but I had this in my mind. I'm going to do bodybuilding, and this is a positive thing to put my energy into, and it's going to lead me somewhere positive. That was pretty much it at the time. I didn't think, oh, I'm going to be Mr. Olympia. Maybe deep down I could be dreaming that, but I didn't want to even say it to myself. I just wanted to do step by step, and I started bodybuilding, competed after about 1.5 years training, and all the people from the federation, the judges, the officials, were like in shock, because they're like, who are you? Where did you come from? And why are you in this novice class? It's like a class for beginners. Because I'm a novice. And I don't think I'm good enough to be in the main class yet. And they're practically laughing at me. They said, we got news for you, kid. You're probably the best heavyweight bodybuilder we've got in the country. We don't have anyone like you. So from my first competition, I went 2 weeks later to a world championship. So, okay, I'm on the right path here.
So that's when the switch happened from lifting weights to bodybuilding?
I always wanted to do bodybuilding. What we did in the detention center was basically powerlifting, squat, deadlift, bench press. But I always wanted to do bodybuilding. I saw the bodybuilders in the magazines and how amazing their physique was, and that's what I wanted to do. You know, lifting weights is the training that you do to build a body, but it's different from actually weightlifting or powerlifting. You're using the weights as a tool to put stress on the muscles to develop the physique, rather than I need to lift this weight from point A to point B. So it's a bit different from weightlifting.
You're comparing our sports, and I played against an opponent all the time. It's a game with team, with others.
Yeah.
You played all the time against yourself.
Yes.
And that type of training that you did, it's just work. It's not, where is the fun? Okay. I'm sure you have it, but it's like, especially your type of work, because we'll discuss about that later a little bit, because it was a little different, but it's just over and over, and you see first improvement, but after that you stop.
Well, most people do, yeah, but it's a matter of learning how to train correctly so that you can keep progressing. And the nearer you get to your ultimate potential, whatever that is, did I reach it? I think I got pretty close, but anyway, the nearer you get to that ultimate potential, the slower the gains are going to be. The first year you're going to react because you're not used to this training. And this is what I see with a lot of people. They go to the gym for the first 6 months or 12 months, they get some results because the body's not used to this stress of training, but it adapts very quickly. Then it gets resistant. It doesn't want to. Your body doesn't want to change. It wants to keep balance. Right. So then it gets resistant, and then you have to really know what you're doing. You have to really be able to push, and it's not about the amount of time you spend in training. Maybe martial arts or basketball or something like that. You need to put a lot of hours in because you're practicing a specific skill. With weight training, with bodybuilding, you're not doing that. You're breaking your body down. You're putting stress on it. And the best way to train, in my opinion, and I think this is backed by science, is very intense but brief training. So I never train for more than 1 hour and never more than 4 days a week on average.
Okay.
So people are amazed, oh, you're the best in the world, but you only train for 4 hours. Yes, but it's very intense training. And then the rest of the job is outside the gym. you're going to have to eat 6 meals a day. You need to eat this amount of protein. You need to eat this amount of calories. You need to get 8, 9, 10 hours of sleep a day. You need to control your stress levels, because if you're stressed, you don't recover from the training. And there's many aspects outside of the gym. And, maybe golf or basketball or football, you can go to training and you do your training and then you go home. It's finished. Bodybuilding is not. It's like following you 24 hours a day. I would never, maybe I took things to the extreme, I'm sure I did, but it worked for me. I would never go out at night if I was going to get back after 11 o'clock. If it was a social occasion and in the family and it was, no, I wouldn't do it. If it was a movie, I wouldn't do it. I have to be home at this time because I have to be in bed at this time. And I did it to the extreme, probably more than anyone else. But then I was also the guy that was winning.
Right. I think there is no balance in highest level performance.
There's no balance in being, you want to be the best in the world at something. How is that balanced? That's totally not balanced. Right. Yeah? So you can't be competing at this extreme and think, oh, I'm going to have a balanced life. If you want a balanced life, okay, that's good, but you're not going to be extremely good at one thing, because you need to put so much energy and so much focus into this one thing to be the best in the world. I'm not expert on basketball, but I know there's outstanding players, and I can bet it was because they put more in mentally than somebody else.
Definitely.
Because at that level, everyone's good.
All the top level athletes are having a work ethic. I was telling you before the podcast started that I had an episode with Garry Kasparov.
Yeah.
And I asked him, hey, listen, you're the Zeus of chess. Like, you're the best of the best. What got you there? Talent or work?
Yeah.
And he was looking at me and said, well, work is talent. To be able to work that much on yourself, on everything, on your craft, on your skills, on everything you do, it's part of who you need to be to become that one.
To be the best, yeah. I'm sure that any pursuit, chess, sport, all the guys are good at the top level. They're all gifted. They all have some gift, otherwise they wouldn't be there. So what separates them at this point from 1 to 2 or 3 is going to be the work. It's going to be the focus, the absolute focus. So, friends say to me, oh, it's nice to hang out with you now, because when you're in the room, you're in the room. Years ago, we used to be in the room with you, but we knew that your head's somewhere else. You're not even in the room, even though your body's there, but your mind's thinking about the training, about the diet, or something else all the time. It's an obsession. Is that healthy? Maybe not, but, being the best in the world is something very unusual that not most people are going to achieve.
Dorian, when it became addictive to grow like that, because your focus was to be the biggest.
Yes.
Like, besides the ones before you, you wanted to be the biggest one, physically the biggest. So when it became that addictive to just push it to the extreme, and maybe you get to points in where you use steroids or things like that, it's a sacrifice.
Yeah, it is a sacrifice, and it's let's be honest. It's it's part of the game. It's not if or maybe. There are no professional bodybuilders that don't use steroids. They don't exist. Like basketball players wear basketball shoes. Nobody's on the court with their bare feet. Or there's no models going on stage without the makeup. So it's part of the game. It's not just bodybuilding. It's any sports where muscle strength and power is going to be an advantage. And we're talking about extremely driven people. Extremely driven. They're going to do whatever it takes to be successful in their sport. So steroids are a part of it. And they do have possible negative health consequences. So for me, it was like, I'm going to weigh it up. And I remember when I turned professional, so I'm the best amateur bodybuilder in my country. Now I can be eligible to go to professional contests. That's how it works. Like any sport, you can't just say, hey, I want to enter the world boxing champion. You have to make your way there. So that's how you do it. And I said, okay, I'm going to go now to the pro ranks, which was at that time. and still is to a degree, very much US based. So I'm going to go to the US to compete with the guys. The US bodybuilding was totally dominated at that time in 80s and 90s. Now it's more international. So I'm going to go and compete in my first pro show. If I don't get in the top 5, that's telling me I don't have what it takes to be really like competitive and do the best in this sport. So if I don't get in the top 5, I'm finished with this aspect. I'll continue to train, but I don't want to be, taking the risk with steroids. I don't want to be sacrificing everything and all the time and all of, things that I'm putting aside. And not only that, I was married with a young son. So they're losing time with you and focus and everything like that. It interferes with your family life. So I had to justify it. And, history shows I got second in my first pro show, and I got recognized by Joe Weider, who was the mogul of bodybuilding, who produced the best-selling magazines and everything like that. So if you're going to make it in bodybuilding, you need to be in the Weider magazines. And he saw me in my first professional show in New York and flew me out to California to do the photo shoot to get on the magazines, which is every bodybuilder's dream. So, okay, I made it. I got what it takes. Now, can I be the best? Was the next question.
Let's talk about the inner game. What was in your head? Because in this type of sport that you've been through, it's a lot of war in your head.
Yeah.
A lot of all the time trying to push yourself to be there, to be present, to have confidence. It's that game in your head. How did you deal with that? Because you didn't have a lot of sport.
It's not just about in bodybuilding. It's not just about the training. You've got to psych yourself up for the training. You've got to have your goals. You've got to push yourself. But to get into shape for a bodybuilding contest is very contradictory goals. As you said, I wanted to be the biggest and most muscular. But I also wanted to be a walking anatomy chart with less than 3% body fat. So you build muscle and have no body fat at the same time is very contradictory goals, very difficult to achieve. And you're talking about 2 or 3 months of the year where you're constantly hungry. And you can't eat that food. You have to stick to this, and it's going to be hard and it's going to be very uncomfortable. So to answer the question, I think you have to, I'm always trying to be logical and realistic. I want this. This is what it's going to take to get there. Logically, I'm going to have to sacrifice. I'm going to be hungry to get there. Is my desire to get to this goal greater than the temporary discomfort of the pain of training, of feeling hungry, of feeling tired? Yes, it is. So I'm going to do it. And once I've locked that door, I've locked that door. And I'm not going to break it.
So you found for yourself a different type of training to be huge and also like with definition of that.
It's not that I pulled it out of the air totally. There was already people that were promoting and looking at the science behind muscle building and training. And the conclusion was the key. What's the key? It's the intensity of the exercise, so that you're pushing that particular exercise and those muscle groups to the point of failure where they can't lift anymore. But you need to recover from this. So you need to keep those sessions brief, fairly brief. In my opinion, nobody should ever be weight training more than 1 hour a day. Very hard, very intense, but do it. Send the signal, then you get out, then your job is to recover from that training, which is the rest of the work, sleeping, eating, making sure you've got enough protein, enough calories, and all these things.
You pushed it and you became the best.
Yeah.
And the first time was in 92, right?
1992 was the first time I won, and 1993 was a landmark in bodybuilding. That the physique that I presented on the second Mr. Olympia was like, wow, this is something we haven't seen before. That's why they called me the game changer, because it basically changed the game of bodybuilding to like, you need to be bigger and more muscular and extremely conditioned, and you need to put all that together. So it was it was a step up in the evolution and the standard of bodybuilding. Whether that's good or bad, you can debate it, but it's not debatable that it was a big change.
So how come in bodybuilding, like athletes like yourself dominated through time? Like you had 6 years, others had periods of 5, 8, whatever, things like that.
Well, there's few factors which make a champion, and one of them is genetics. You know, you're very tall. This is genetics. I have a good structure for bodybuilding, long muscle bellies on most of the body parts. So there tends to be one dominant person, or there has been in each area. So 1970s, Arnold Schwarzenegger was dominant for most of that era. He finished in 75 and he competed in 80 again. But anyway, we can say the 70s belonged to Arnold. He was head and shoulders above everybody. 1980s was Lee Haney, who won 8 times. Maybe 1 or 2 was a bit close, but he won 8 titles. And I competed against him in my first Mr. Olympia and got second. But then he retired the next year, and that's when my reign started. And also, when you're the champion, you have a little edge, maybe psychologically, in everybody's mind, including the judges. So this guy is a champion. We need to say somebody better than this guy, not close, better. So you have a little psychological edge on being the champion already.
You use that through your career, the psychological edge, because I read about the shadow.
The shadow was me being me. You know, I just was shy and I didn't like publicity and I didn't like talking. I didn't want to go on TV. I didn't want to talk to anybody because that's my personality. But it turned into an image and a tool, and I realized that. I realized, hey, all these guys, they pretty much know each other. A lot of them trained in the Gold Gym in Venice, California, so they see each other on a daily basis. This guy's having a bad day today, had a fight with his wife or something. They didn't know anything about me, and they didn't see me. So then you're not going to see me until the contest. So you're already creating a monster in your mind. You know, over there. What's this guy doing? What's he going to look like? You're thinking about me. I'm not really thinking about you. So there's a little psychological edge, of course. All these things add up, but at the end of the day, if I don't turn up with the goods, it's not really going to help me, you know?
Of course, to prove yourself every time you showed up to a contest. Maybe sometimes you applied for it or not, you just showed up.
Getting ready for a bodybuilding contest, you can look at, any of these guys, including myself. Your body doesn't react exactly the same always, all the time, you know? So you have 1 year, maybe it was a little bit better, and the next year a little bit less, and maybe a guy got close to you this year, you know? So it's not an exact science that every time it will come exactly the same. There's always some different challenges to deal with, or maybe you have an injury this year that you didn't have last year, and you need to change the training or compromise something. So it's always a different challenge each year.
How did the bodybuilding evolve today? Because you're very involved in it. You have a gym, you have the nutrition part, the DY nutrition. Yeah. You're very into it. I'm into what I learned from bodybuilding, which can apply to the masses, if you like, to everybody. What did I learn that can help you and can help everybody to improve their life physically and mentally? I'm not really working that much with professional bodybuilders or professional bodybuilding competition. I like to pass my knowledge on and help as many people as I can. And if your body is working better and it's functioning better and you're stronger, this also affects a lot the mind, you know? And I've worked with a lot of people, and they come to me and say, listen, literally you changed my life. I feel healthier, but not just physically, mentally. And you know when you go to the gym and you have a challenge and you're going to lift this weight, it's like a microcosm of life. You're going to have challenges. How are you going to react when you have that challenge? And if you lift this weight and you manage to lift this weight and it was a challenge and you lift it and you put it back and you feel good. You feel strong physically, mentally. I've overcome that hurdle. If I overcome that hurdle, I can overcome another hurdle. So it helps in life as well, mentally, as well as, you got a better functioning body. It's always going to be a good thing.
This podcast is powered by MasterCard.
you overcome a lot of hurdles, and one of which was retirement.
Yeah.
After your last title, you broke some muscles, you had some injuries, you still won the competition, but after that you went to the other life, the afterlife.
Yeah, well, this is a huge challenge that I think anyone that's super focused on anything, I mean, I know sports people, so I use that as an example, but it probably applies to anything, where you've had this all-consuming goal, all-consuming, all your energy, all your thoughts, all your spirit is going in a tunnel like this towards your goal. Now it's gone. Who am I? What do I do? What's my purpose? All these questions come up. And, you know, there's a brain chemistry behind this as well about training and competing. You know, you're releasing massive amounts of dopamine in your brain. So you're on kind of a high because you're on this challenge, and now it's gone away. And many people run into problems with that. I mean, the best sports people you can think about, Mike Tyson, Sugar Ray Leonard, people like this, they get into drugs and whatever because you're looking, where is that high gone? So you're looking for something to replace it. And I went down that road as well, and I thought, hey, I didn't have no fun when I was competing, I was just doing this, now I'm going to have fun. So for a while, until I found a balance, and I said, hey, instead of focusing on what I lost, I lost my goal and I don't know, what about what you gained? You're already a champion, you've done that, and now the whole world is your oyster. You know what? If you wanted to go to bed at 4 a.m., you can go do that. If you want to eat this pizza, you can do that. You can travel when you want to. You have more freedom. So I started to turn it around and see it from a different point of view. But I got to say it was very tough for at least a couple of years, for sure.
Studies show that it's an athlete's first death.
Yeah.
Because it's a lifespan. Like, you know, you start your skill and you become better, you became the best, and after that you die.
Yeah, you haven't the
right
purpose. There. What is my purpose now? Actually, who am I? Because you get molded by what you do as well. I mean, I'm a representative for professional bodybuilding now. Everybody's looking at me. I represent professional bodybuilding, so I better conduct myself like this, or, you know, I better do that. But is that really you? Who are you now without this? Without this, outfit, who are you? So that was the question, and yeah, I struggled with pretty severe depression.
So looking back in your transition, what is something you worked on and you're still working on? A challenge that, you know, that ego, that drive, that extreme drive that you had and you're talking about, and how did that? Because sometimes, you know, us as athletes, we're going through things like, you know, you have some hurdles, as you name them, and you just jump them or you just blast them.
Yeah.
But in real life, maybe it's okay to take a left, you know, and not, you know, when is not ego and when is just smart of going around.
Well, I realized I have an unusual ability to focus. I can focus on a subject only if I'm interested in it, and I can absorb everything about it, and I can read all the books, and I can do. If I'm not interested, nothing will happen. So I say, how do I redirect that focus? And I was fascinated about how big, how muscular can I build my physique, and all that, everything that goes into that. Now I'm interested in what's the human potential? Physically, mentally, spiritually. What can we become? I think we're only just scratching the surface now of what we can become and what we can achieve through our thoughts and our focus of thoughts. You know, I wanted to be this biggest bodybuilder in the world, and through this focus I was able to achieve that. So I think we can achieve many things, and I think we're only just now starting to understand the human potential and the potential to tap into the body and to manipulate it, and to tap into the mind and manipulate it. You know, we have a lot of knowledge now about the breathing, how breathing affects the body, and heat and cold, and different physical exercises, different diets, different supplements. I'm 60 now. So how can I have and continue to have a very good quality of life as I get older? And what's the potential of my mind and the spirit? So that's where I'm at now. I'm using the same kind of focus, but in a different way. And all of that information that I'm trying to gather on that is not just for me to win a competition. It's for me to share with as many people as I can and help them in their struggle and their depression and their doubts, and try to show them what can be done. You know, I think human potential is unlimited. We're only just starting to understand it.
So I saw you went into different directions as well as yoga and work your craft in different ways. So what are some of your findings? Because you share them not only with professionals. It's not about that. It's about life, right?
Yeah, I just share them with whoever's interested. So I've done quite a lot of work on meditation practices and breath work and, yoga, Pilates, things like that. So I'm combining that with what I already know about strength training. So on the physical level, to build and maintain muscle mass is probably a key health marker now. We didn't know, even probably I didn't know this 30 years ago, but the muscle mass is the biggest organ in your body. And as you get older, it starts to decline, and we start to get age-related diseases like diabetes and arthritis and things like that. And that can be offset by building the muscle mass back. If you're 50, 60 years old and you've got the muscle mass of a 30-year-old, your health outcome is going to be way better. And the potential of the mind to actually create your own reality and attract things into your life that's on the same frequency, if you like. That's what I believe. Whatever you put out, life becomes a mirror of your own thoughts and intentions and emotions. It feeds back to you the same thing.
Yeah. It kept in my mind what you said a little bit earlier, that, on your time of bodybuilding, was very individual game.
Yeah.
Like you didn't have internet, you didn't have coaches, you didn't have stuff like that around you. Me in basketball, I played in a team sport.
Yeah.
And when did team become okay for you? Because, you switch to business, to a different type of life where you need others.
Yeah.
And it's okay to ask for help or to say, hey, I can, depend on you.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that was hard for you.
That's a slow process.
It was a slow process.
A slow process, yeah. And now I'm good at it, and I was a great bodybuilder, the best in the world at one point, but I don't consider myself to be a great businessman or entrepreneur. But some of the people I work with, they're better than me. So, that's what you have to do. Surround yourself with a team. I went to university for 10 years to study bodybuilding. I didn't go to university to study business. So I work with people that have that knowledge, and we work together. So I got a good team of people I'm working with now. I'm really happy, and great team here in Romania, in Bucharest.
Okay. Going back to Dorian Yates when he was 20, what would you tell him?
I would tell him, you're right.
Okay.
You're right. You are different, and you're going to be something very unusual, and you know it. You already know this. And maybe I did go back and tell myself, because I always knew that I was destined for something different. Whatever was going on when I was a teenager and getting into trouble and this and that, I knew it was like inside. I knew it was just a temporary situation. I'm just playing here for a minute, but I'm going to get serious soon. I grew up with my friend. I remember we used to work on the roofs together, doing the roofs. And he'd be asking the guy about roofing and how'd you do this and that, because he's thinking ahead. Hey, maybe I'm going to do this and I'll have my own business one day. It's not asking any questions or anything, because I'm just here for a minute. just here for a minute getting some wages and I'm doing something else soon. So why would I be asking questions? So I knew that I was going to do something different. And when I got bodybuilding, I was like, this is it. But initially, when I first started, I didn't know how good I was going to be. I was thinking I would like to be maybe British champion. That would be huge. If I can be British champion and open my own gym and make a living from what I really enjoy doing and don't work for anybody else, that was already a victory for me. But obviously, it went much further than that, step by step.
You've been in a period of time when bodybuilding, it was underrated. Like it didn't get all the attention in the world, and you're on the top, but you're still like you're a superstar. And how did you deal with that status and with that thing that nobody prepared you for?
No, well, I was a fan at first, so I was a huge fan of the bodybuilders, and all the pros at that point they were from the US, but they would come to the UK. Like every month, pretty much, there was a top professional from US coming and doing a seminar talk or something like that, so you could go and see. And maybe gym is more popular now, and there are also a lot of categories in bodybuilding, if you like. There's, I don't know how many different women's classes now. Many women's classes. Before there was just one, women's bodybuilding. Now you've got bikini and women's fitness and wellness and bodybuilding and physique, and the same thing with the men's classes. There's many different categories. You've got the physique, men's physique, where they wear shorts because it's like a beach body. Then you've got the classic physique, and then you've got bodybuilding. So all in all, the whole thing's bigger, but just purely in bodybuilding, I would say that in the 90s it was the most popular because everybody wanted to be a bodybuilder, and there was no MMA, there was no CrossFit, there was none of these things were available. So all the guys wanted to be bodybuilders, and there was no internet, just magazines. So you see the guys in the magazines, they almost become mythical, non-human entities, and when you see them, it's like, wow. So we were really like rock stars. I mean, literally, you go to a town and like you're like a rock star. Everybody wants to meet you. A lot of girls want to meet you. All this stuff you have going on. But I was always very aware. I'm just going to go and I'm going to do my job and I'm going to get paid and I'm going to move on. I'm not going to get distracted. I'll save that for later,
So you had that discipline.
Yeah, I had that discipline no matter what. And some of the other guys didn't, and I would observe that, and I'm like, okay, that's one weakness I've observed in you, which I'm not doing, so I have an advantage of you psychologically already. I remember before I turned pro, I was British champion and just due to turn pro, and I met a guy at the time that was a superstar in bodybuilding. He came to UK, and we were together at one contest doing an appearance, and I went to speak to him 5 or 10 minutes. And I came back and I said to my wife, this guy will never beat me. She said, oh, how do you know? I said, I know, he'll never beat me. I spoke to him. I weighed it up. He can't beat me.
No, you had. I read all about it, and I listened to you before to some interviews. You had that mental game all the time. You were like,
yeah, it's instinctive.
It's not an accident that you've been 6 times Mr. Olympia. I mean, that's not. People don't understand that this is not only talent. Like you can get that only with talent. It's like the whole 9 yards. It's the
You've
whole
probably
package.
seen it yourself in your sport. You can have a guy that's very talented and a guy not so talented, but he's prepared to do the work. He's here,
Right. But at your level, it's both. Like
everybody has the talent. Everybody's genetically suited.
I think until 95%, everybody works hard. Yeah. I mean, it's not possible. But that tip of the mountain, it's also native talent and just.
I believe that I was able to beat people that were arguably more naturally talented than myself because I made up for it with the hard work and the discipline that they maybe, and sometimes when you're really talented and things come very easy, you don't develop that kind of discipline and drive and hunger because it's coming easy anyway. Why should I do that,
Right. Now you're in a part of your life that you can mentor people.
Yeah.
And you can, really be there and change some game changer in that sense, like help others understand. What is the danger of bodybuilding?
There's no danger of bodybuilding. There's a danger in professional bodybuilding.
Yeah, sure, definitely.
Because it's extreme.
Yeah.
It's like, what's the danger in cycling? No danger in cycling, but if you're in a Tour de France and you're pushing your body to the limit and you're using performance-enhancing drugs to push that further because everyone else is using them as well, then there's a danger there. Then there's a health risk, which you have to weigh up and you have to
Own it.
to manage. Yeah. And thanks God, I'm 60 years old. I feel very healthy, and I continue to look after my body, but I'm not trying to be this guy that I was. This is the problem. When guys get caught up in this is who I am, this huge muscular guy, and I'm not this huge muscular guy anymore, no one's going to respect me, or no one's going to love me, or something like this, yeah? So, I had to let go of that. I'm saying I'm going to lose weight, and I'm actually going to lose not all this, but some of this muscle that I worked so hard for, because it's not useful for me now. I need to be able to be mobile, and I feel stiff now. I feel too heavy. And guys trying to maintain this type of physique and using steroids or whatever they're using into their 40s and 50s, this is where it's dangerous. And we see, we've seen some deaths from this in the sport, professionals and non-professionals.
Yeah, I think also people looking for shortcuts, and there are no shortcuts.
There is no shortcut, but everyone's looking for a shortcut now because that's society, women, they do Botox, right? They do face implants, they do lip injections, they do tits, they do ass, they do liposuction, they do everything to change their appearance. So guys are like, hey, why can't I take steroids to get a six-pack quicker for the beach? What's the problem? It's just a reflection of society. So yes, people are when I was competing, I got back in the 80s, it was a bit of a closed subject, and the general public certainly didn't know what steroids was, but some people in the sports and the bodybuilding, they knew. But I remember asking some guys when I started training, no, it's like we'll speak to you later when you've been training a bit longer. So put a bit of training in, nutrition, learn how your body works, then maybe if you're serious about it and you're going to go for a competition, then let's talk about it. But now, I would say 95% of people that take steroids are never even intending to go in a competition. And we're talking about women as well, just to stay in shape. They're taking steroids, which are derivatives of male hormones. For women, it's even worse possible consequences, but they want the look. And they think about the consequences later.
Yeah, I think it's a social thing, and that's what we said before, that there are no shortcuts, and the key to success, it's discipline, it's routine, it's something that not many people can handle, and that's why they trying to take the back door, and that's a whole different game there.
But everything has a consequence, and the muscle size that you build using steroids, to a degree, you can't maintain that when you're not taking them. So you have to. There's two things here. One, you've got to be prepared that you're going to stop taking them and your physique is going to decline somewhat. Or two, you're just going to take them for the rest of your life, which is the trap that a lot of people get caught in, because they don't want to go backwards. And if their sense of self importance is tied up with being this big guy, of course they don't want to give it up. It was almost a challenge for myself. I said, I'm going to lose weight on purpose, because can I still be the same guy? I feel better, and I'm showing other people, look, I'm getting older and I'm in good shape because I'm taking care of myself, and I'm working on my flexibility, I'm working on mobility, I'm working on cardio, I'm doing a little bit of weights to maintain my strength, and hopefully I'm inspiring other people that maybe were in the sport, but they're like, how do I transition out of this? And is it okay? Well, I did it, so now it becomes, I got a lot of guys now doing yoga that wouldn't dream of it before, because I went and did it first, and I said, there's benefits to this, guys, this can be helpful. So the stigma was taken away, I suppose, for a lot of people thinking, that's just for women. That's what I would have thought as well when I was 30 years old.
Yeah, I remember I've been through that issue in college, in States, in 2000, 99, 2000, where after the season, the coach was like, so you guys going to yoga now? I'm like, come on, man, seriously, we're not going to yoga. But as soon as we got there, like, that thing was hard.
It's hard
it was
because
like,
you're not used to it.
We were like, really, like, stop shaking. I'm like, man, I'm 208, 6'10". I mean, it's, some things are not natural to me. So I realized how serious that was.
Yeah, and it helps in your life, as you get older, to be flexible and not having aches and pains, and your body's more balanced. And there's a mental side to it as well, with the breathing and the relaxation. Your brain functions better when it's relaxed. When you're in a state of stress, it's literally you can't do anything. You can't think straight because you're in a survival mode. So it takes you out of that. Meditation and yoga. Meditation is more the breathing and the mind, and the yoga is combining that with movement as well.
Looking back to my career, I'm missing two things. I'm missing the competition, that feeling when you step on the court. And for me, it's like walking tall in there. Like, you go on and it's such a different, people might never understand that feeling. Yeah. And the second is the locker room, the camaraderie of people there. What do you miss?
I still go to the gym, so I can still have that camaraderie in the gym and meet people in the gym and stuff like that. I don't say I miss it, because that was then and this is now. And I feel very like I can look back on my sports career, and of course some things could be better. I could have avoided injury, probably, but that would change the whole trajectory of my life, and where I am now is a good place. I feel good, I feel happy, so, and I know that I give 100% to that. So it's like I can put it to bed and I don't look back and say, what if I'd have tried a bit harder? There's none of that. So I feel very satisfied with that part of my life, and that put me where I am now. That put me in this chair, and I'm talking to you, and people are listening. If I didn't win 6 Mr. Olympia titles, nobody's listening to me. So I have a platform which I try to use for a positive purpose.
What is one thing that bodybuilding taught you?
Well, obviously it taught me discipline. It taught me planning and goal setting. It taught me visualization. It taught me the power of the mind and the thought and the mental rehearsal and all this stuff. That you can apply this to anything that you want to do. You want to build a business, you need a plan, you need a structure, you need a discipline, you need to do this at this time, and you need to have where are we going to be in 12 months and 14 months and all this kind of stuff. So it can apply to anything. That discipline is the thing that I learned, which I already think I had innately anyway. It was already there, but it really fine-tuned it.
I love that, because people think they just see the contest, and they just see the tip of the iceberg, and translating that the whole thing is not that you push or pull something with more kilos or something. It's about the process, and it's about the exercise behind, and it's about what you learn from there and be able to translate in something else. Because finally, it's a performance process. It's not bodybuilding, it's not basketball, it's not football, it's sport. It's a performance process like it's anything else.
Well, the thing about bodybuilding is the actual competition is not the competition. The competition is just, here's the end product. Yeah. The competition was every day for the last year leading up, and here's the end result of the competition. The actual competition is in the gym, and I think that's why some people maybe find bodybuilding hard to understand. There's some guys in their underwear standing on stage with big muscles. Yeah, but do you realize what it took to get to look like that, how much work, how much dedication, how much discipline. You don't see any of that. You just see the guy on the stage. Where a basketball or a race or a boxing match, you knock the guy out or you go across the line and it's entertaining to watch because it's a competition. Where bodybuilding is not so entertaining and not so easy to understand because you're just seeing a guy on a stage. But if you knew what it took to get there, then you would have a lot of appreciation for it.
Dorian, thank you very much, and can't wait to read this book, From the Shadow. It's your biography, and thank you for giving me this. I can't wait to read it.
That takes the reader through the journey of who I am, where I came from, and you know, how I got to where I was in bodybuilding, where I am now. So the whole story, as well as I can remember, is in there. It's quite revealing when you go to write your autobiography, what you can remember, what you can't remember, and then is it this timeline or that timeline. So in the end, I did my best to get most of it in there. It took a couple of years, but I'm happy with that.
I bet. I mean, it's a great exercise, and it's a great way to look back at some extraordinary things you did. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
And I wish you all the best, and keep inspiring people like you inspired me today, and you inspire others.
Well, we had the DY Games just recently this weekend, which was a bunch of competitions, 5 cities around Romania, and the finals in Bucharest to promote, you know, just training, that it's fun. We had kids competitions, women's, men's, and we're going to be expanding on that the next year. So we look forward to a bigger DY Games, and I hope that you'll come along yourself to watch next year.
I'll do that.
All right, cool, man.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
So, like always, extraordinary time with Dorian, and looking back, I learned a lot, and I learned it's a journey through a sport that gives you a lot of mental power, and like always, you can find this podcast on social media, on Spotify, on any big platform of podcast. I'm waiting for your options of people to come next to me to tell their stories. Until then, sport la treabă.